At the family barbecue, I tried to keep things light, almost breezy. I can't wait for our vacation, I said, hoping it would float harmlessly into the conversation. My dad was the first to react. He barked out a laugh, sharp and unkind. It's only for family, without you. The patio erupted. My sister snickered into her drink. My mother smiled in that way she does when she wants a cruel moment to pass as a harmless joke. I didn't yell. I didn't flinch. I simply nodded, stood up, and left my untouched wine glass sweating on the table. 5 days later, my mom reached for a $5,000 withdrawal she thought was still hers to take. One tap later, the account wore a new title, and their family group chat erupted like a struck match. Stay with me. This isn't the moment the story ends. This is only the point where their assumptions start to crumble. Because before that barbecue, before the laughter and the attempted $5,000 grab, there were years of tiny wounds. Little cuts so small I convinced myself they didn't slice. I excused them over and over because they were family, and family is supposed to be forgiven. I teach fourth graders. My days are lined with lesson plans, cafeteria duty, hallway noise, and the lingering scent of dry erase markers that clings to my clothes even after I wash them. Weekends were always, without question, theirs. I'd drive 40 minutes to fix their router. I'd pay the plumber they couldn't afford. I'd fill up their refrigerator when their card declined at checkout again. They would smile, pose for family photos, and somehow always forget to include me in the caption. I used to love feeling useful. It made me feel like I had a place. But somewhere along the way, needed became exploited. Emily saw it long before I did. She's steady, thoughtful, the kind of person who color codes travel itineraries. Last spring, she said, "You know they only call when something breaks, right?" I told her she just didn't understand families. I said guilt was our family bonding ritual. She didn't laugh. Then came Colorado. A short 3-day cabin escape, inexpensive, peaceful. A break from endless grading and phone calls that always started with, "Zoe, can you just..." Emily and I didn't post anything, but my cousin snapped one picture of us smiling in front of the snow. That was plenty. Within 48 hours, the messages rolled in. "Tara, must be nice to forget where you came from. Matt, you've changed." And then my mother, sweet on the surface, sharp underneath. "We've always supported you, but when you get time off, you disappear like we don't matter." Somehow, a weekend getaway turned into a crime. By Friday, I was the villain, the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family for a vacation. Emily warned me not to go to the barbecue, said it felt like a setup waiting for a moment to pounce. But my mom called, her voice bright, almost sugary, insisting it would just be close family. And I believed her. I always believe her. So that Sunday, I showed up with a decent bottle of red, not expensive, not cheap, hoping maybe this would be the day things softened. I even practiced how to sound casual, rehearsed how to say sorry without apologizing for something I didn't do. I convinced myself this was the moment things would reset. I didn't realize the reset was already gone. The yard smelled like smoke from the grill, but underneath it was something else. Expectation. Tension curling in the air like heat waves. My dad hovered over the grill, flipping burgers like it was any ordinary Sunday. Matt leaned against the cooler, beer in hand, already half checked out. Tara scrolled on her phone, barely acknowledging the world around her. Mom hummed while setting out plates, pretending everything was perfectly normal. When I walked in holding the wine, no one blinked. No one greeted me. "Hey," I said with the smile I had to force. "Looks great out here." Dad didn't glance up. "Started early," he said. In their language, that meant you're late, even when I wasn't. I sat down and the quiet hit me immediately. Heavy, stretched thin, like everyone was waiting for something. Mom set a plate in front of me. "So," she said lightly, "how's Emily?" She said it like a test. She always does. "She's good," I answered. I hoped the conversation would move on. It didn't. "That's nice," Mom replied, smiling tight, offering nothing more. Silence flooded the table. I tried asking Matt about his new job. He grunted. Tara snorted. The small burst of laughter that followed felt sharp enough to cut skin. I chuckled along, pretending not to notice the edge. And then I said the sentence that lit the fuse. I can't wait for our vacation." I expected it to be harmless, a casual comment, but my dad stopped for a fraction of a second, then let out that deep, artificial laugh, the one he saves for moments he wants to sting. "It's only for family without you." Everything exploded. The patio roared. Matt slapped his leg. Tara wheezed. Mom lifted her glass like she was toasting to the joke. I sat frozen, listening to the sound of ice shifting in cups. Part of me waited for someone to say, "Just kidding," for a wink, a correction, anything. But no one did. It was intentional, calculated. They were watching to see if I'd crumble. I looked around at the people who shared my DNA, laughing at the idea of excluding me. He crawled up my neck, followed by something icy and clean. Clarity. This wasn't an isolated insult. It was a pattern disguised as tradition. They liked me best when I was small, sorry, useful. And the easiest way to keep me there was to remind me that no matter what I did, I wasn't really one of them. So I did the opposite of what they expected. I stayed quiet. I nodded once. "Got it," I said calmly. Then I stood up and left my untouched wineglass sweating on the table. 5 days later, my mom reached for a $5,000 withdrawal she thought was still hers to take. One tap later, the account wore a new title, and their family group chat erupted like a struck match. The moment humiliation sharpened into something steady. They had pushed, poked, prodded for years, but this was the last slice. If they wanted me out of the family so badly, I could give them what they demanded. The notification pulsed on my screen. Withdrawal attempt, $5,000. Same old joint account, same card I'd opened because Mom insisted she just needed a safety net for utilities. I should have closed it years earlier. But guilt keeps doors open long after they should be locked. I stared at the number until the screen dimmed. My coffee cooled. Something inside me flattened. Not anger, not fear, just finality. I called the bank first. "Block the card," I said evenly. The representative asked if I wanted to report fraud. I almost laughed. "No," I said. "It's family." When the confirmation email landed, I returned to the app. The account name blinked. Family Fund. I cleared it out letter by letter, then typed in new words. Pay without me. I stared at it for a moment, years of guilt, obligation, and quiet suffocation captured in 3 simple words. I hit save. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up with notifications. "Mom, did you touch the account?" "Dad, your mother made a mistake. Fix it." Tara, "Haha, very funny." "Matt, what's your problem?" I said nothing. Instead, I sent a screenshot. New account name, blocked card, failed withdrawal, straight into the family chat. No caption, no explanation. Then I flipped my phone over and stepped outside for a walk. The air was thick with late summer humidity, but my mind felt breezy, empty in a way that felt like relief. For the first time in years, I wasn't mentally composing apologies. I wasn't scrambling for solutions. I was done. Finally done. When I came back home, the group chat was overflowing. 40 messages in 10 minutes. "Mom, this is childish. We needed that money for the holidays." "Dad, after everything we've done for you." "Tara, honestly, you're unhinged." "Matt, grow up, Zoe." I read every word, then archived the conversation. Not deleted, archived. Because one day I might hand that thread to someone wearing a suit. Emily found me sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at my dark phone. She didn't ask. She didn't need to. "You finally did it, didn't you?" she said softly. "Yeah." I stopped paying for people who never counted me in the total. Outside, thunder rolled low across the sky. Inside, the phone buzzed again. Another wave of messages I had no intention of opening. They wanted drama. I gave them silence. That's the thing about revenge. Not every explosion is loud. Sometimes it's just a quiet click, followed by the sound of everything you owe finally disappearing. By the next morning, the panic had bloomed. When I checked my phone before work, I had 16 missed calls in a string of messages that bounced between outrage and desperation. The family group chat had turned into a battlefield of accusations, each of them blaming someone else for losing control of the account. Mom claimed she didn't know the withdrawal was that large. Dad wrote, "This is petty, Zoe. You're embarrassing yourself." Tara posted a crying laughing emoji followed by a screenshot of the rejection notice from the bank like it was some kind of family meme. I muted the thread. By lunchtime, Mom showed up outside my classroom. The secretary buzzed me. "There's a Mrs. Brooks here," she said. "Says it's urgent." I stepped into the hallway, heart steady. Mom was standing there, holding her purse like it was a prop in a play she'd rehearsed. "You blocked the card?" she asked, her voice soft, trembling in all the right ways. "Yes." She blinked fast, trying for tears that wouldn't come. "We just needed it for the holidays." I folded my arms. "You tried to take $5,000 without asking me." "It was for us, for the family." I smiled small. "You said I wasn't family, remember?" Her mouth opened, then closed again. She wasn't expecting that. "Zoe," she said finally, "you're overreacting. You're being cruel." That word, cruel, landed harder than the laughter ever did. For years, they'd taken and called it love. Now, me saying no was cruelty. "I have to get back to class," I said. "You should go." Her voice cracked on my name, but I walked away before I could start to care again. That night, I came home to Emily setting out takeout containers on the counter. "You okay?" she asked. I shrugged. "They're unraveling." She smiled faintly. "Good." But it didn't stop there. 2 days later, I came home to my apartment door slightly ajar. My first thought was that I'd forgotten to lock it. My second thought, when I heard voices inside, was worse. Mom and Dad were standing in my living room. Tara sprawled on the couch, shoes off, scrolling her phone, a half-eaten bag of chips on the coffee table. "What are you doing here?" I asked. Mom turned with that same practiced calm. "You weren't answering." "Because you tried to steal from me," I said. Dad stepped forward, voice heavy with mock authority. "Watch your tone. We're still your parents. Then act like it." He scoffed. "You've changed since you started dating her." Emily froze at the doorway, holding the takeout bag like a shield. "You broke into his apartment," she said evenly. "That's not okay." "This is family business," Mom snapped. I felt the last thread of patience snap. "No, this is trespassing." They didn't move. Tara laughed softly without looking up. "You're such a drama queen." I walked to the door, opened it wide. "Get out." "Zoe." "Now." Mom's eyes narrowed, cold, replacing the sweetness. "You're going to regret this." "I already did," I said, and shut the door behind them. The silence after they left felt sacred. Emily sat on the couch, shoulders tense. "They're not going to stop," she said. "I know." That night, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My mother's sister, Denise, the family's black sheep. When she answered, she didn't sound surprised. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said. She invited me over that same evening. Her small house smelled like cedar and old books. Before I could speak, she handed me a folder thick with papers. "Your mother has been manipulating people for years. You're just the latest." Inside were records, payments, old transfers, even hand-signed notes from the time she'd borrowed money from Denise and never repaid a cent. $10,000 for a roof repair in 2012, another $5,000 for a medical emergency that turned out to be a Caribbean cruise. I felt sick. "She said you were unstable," I murmured. Denise laughed. "Of course she did. It's easier to erase the truth when everyone thinks you're crazy." We spent hours comparing stories. The patterns matched perfectly. Borrow, lie, guilt, Repeat. I can help you, she said, pouring wine into 2 mismatched glasses. But if we do this, you have to be ready for them to hate you. I smiled for the first time all week. They already do. The next few days were a quiet storm. Denise's friend, someone who worked in financial compliance, helped me sever every tie I had with my parents. Accounts, emergency contacts, insurance. I closed the last joint account, then sent one message to the family chat, a screenshot of the zero balance under the name Pay Without Me. No caption, just silence. Matt responded first, "What the hell is this?" Tara followed, "You're losing it." Mom called 6 times in an hour. I didn't answer. The next morning, I woke to find my phone vibrating nonstop. Denise had posted something old, photos of my parents in casinos, sipping cocktails. Timestamps overlapping the months they'd claimed to be broke. She didn't tag them. She didn't have to. Within minutes, cousins were texting me asking if it was true. My father's sister messaged, "You've humiliated your mother." I just stared at the screen, feeling none of the guilt they were trying to hand me. That evening, my mother appeared again, this time on my doorstep with her brother Brian. He stood behind her like muscle, arms crossed, sunglasses on, though it was almost dark. She looked tired, strategically tired. "We came to talk," she said. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. "You shouldn't be here." Brian jumped in. "You embarrassed the family. That post was out of line." I almost laughed. "Out of line is trying to drain my account." "She made a mistake," he snapped. "She made a choice," I corrected. Mom lifted her hands in mock surrender. "We just want peace. We canceled the trip. We thought maybe we could start over." The same game. Pretend it never happened, reset the board. "I'm not going anywhere with you," I said. "If you show up again uninvited, I'll file a report." Brian scoffed. "You'd threaten your own mother?" I met his stare. "No, I'm protecting my life." Mom's expression shifted. Shock, then pity, then contempt. "You've changed," she said, as if it was the worst thing imaginable. "I have," I said quietly, "and I'm not sorry." They walked away without another word. The porch light buzzed above me. Inside, Emily waited by the window, eyes searching my face. "It's not over," I told her. "They'll come back." I was right. 2 days later, an email arrived from the school district. Notice of concern. Immediate acknowledgement required. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint claiming I was emotionally unstable and creating a hostile classroom environment. I read it twice, then looked up at Emily. "They've found a new way to attack." She took my hand. "Then we find a new way to end it. And this time, I knew exactly how." I didn't waste a second. I called Denise, forwarded the complaint, and waited while she read. "Anonymous? Huh." She said, "Give me a day." By the next afternoon, she called back. "Got her," she said simply. "Your sister's college IP. No VPN. Amateur hour." Relief didn't come all at once. It came in waves. I brought everything, emails, messages, screenshots, to a lawyer Denise recommended. Her name was Clara, calm and sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who didn't blink at family drama dressed as fraud. She flipped through the pages and said, "We'll start with a no-contact order. Temporary at first, then permanent." It was like exhaling after years of holding my breath. Within a week, the school board cleared my name. HR apologized quietly. My principal told me to take a few days off. Paid, of course. I said, "Thank you," but what I meant was finally. Mom tried to call once more. I didn't answer. Then came a final message. "You'll regret cutting us out. Family is forever." I deleted it. That night, Emily and I packed boxes. We found a new place. 2-bedroom, sunlight that actually reached the floor, a kitchen window overlooking a park. When the keys turned in the new lock, I felt something loosen in my chest that had been tight for years. Denise came by with pizza and cheap wine. As we ate on the floor, she said, "They'll probably keep talking. They always need someone to blame." I smiled. "Let them. I'm not in the story anymore." Later, when the last box was unpacked, I opened my banking app one last time. The account still read, "Pay without me." I didn't change it back. It wasn't revenge anymore, it was a reminder. A reminder that silence can be louder than shouting, that walking away can echo more than any argument. For the first time in my life, I slept through the night. No calls, no buzzing phone, no guilt, just peace, paid in full. 2 months later, I stopped checking their group chat altogether. Actually, I didn't just mute it. This time I deleted it. No final message, no goodbye. Just gone. The quiet was strange at first. No more fake emergencies, no more guilt disguised as love. The kind of silence that once felt heavy now felt like freedom. On a Friday night, Emily and I sat on the balcony of our new apartment, a pizza box between us, cheap wine in our hands. The city lights flickered below, warm and distant. "You ever think they'll apologize?" she asked. I shook my head. "They'd have to believe they did something wrong." She smiled. "Then I guess you already won." I looked down at my phone. No missed calls, no unread messages, just the words I'd left behind in that frozen account. Pay without me. For once, I didn't feel angry. I felt free. They said I wasn't family. Maybe they were right, because family shouldn't make you beg to belong. So tell me, if the people who call you family keep taking until there's nothing left, would you finally make them pay without